Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Comment in the box. Let me know where you are tuning in live from. I'm tuning in live from Florida, sunny Florida. It's really warm this week. I'm in Lake Mary, Florida. That's a suburb of Orlando. So don't be shy. Comment inside and let me know where you are tuning in from. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ayesha Chidolue. I'm an immigration attorney. I represent clients in all 50 states in the United States with their family immigration matter. So if you have an immigration matter, your friends have an immigration matter, your cousin, your brothers, your sisters, have them call me. Before you continue watching this video, I'd love for you to share it, on your Facebook page, WhatsApp, so other people can tune in and also learn. Hi, Nathan from Florida. Thanks for tuning in. And hi, everyone on Instagram, and hi, everyone on YouTube as well. So today I want to talk about an interesting topic. I always try to, give you guys interesting topics or frequently asked questions that I get, in my DM all the time. And today I specifically want to sort of continue what we were talking about last week, which was about Vawa self-petitions that allow people to petition for green cards on their own and get their green card without needing somebody to petition for them. So today I'm specifically going to talk about what constitutes abuse, for the purposes of VAWA, and what is considered evidence. So for those of you tuning in for the first time or hearing VAWA for the first time, real quick, VAWA is basically a relief that is given to non-U.S. citizens who either came through a visa and overstayed their visa, or crossed the border and have no legal entry here, or a bunch of different other things. It's given to those people if they have been or are currently married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder that is extremely cruel or abusive to them. You also qualify if you are the child of a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, the stepchild with some restrictions, who has been extremely cruel or abusive to you. And you also qualify if you are the parent of a U.S. citizen that has been extremely cruel or abusive to you. So what is abuse for the purpose of, VAWA petitions? So abuse can be, I'm going to categorize them into different categories and just sort of talk about them. So, you've got physical abuse, you've got emotional abuse, you've got sexual abuse, you've got financial abuse, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, and even legal system abuse. So, a lot of times people will say, oh, well, my spouse, I know that my spouse, what he's doing to me or what she's doing to me is cruel, but they've never physically touched me. So the first thing I would say is you don't need to be physically slapped and punched to be in an abusive relationship. What they're looking for is a pattern of abuse or a pattern of extreme cruelty. And sometimes there are certain things that will be considered physical abuse without even a person touching you physically. For instance, let's say you're sick, or whatever it is, and you have such a controlling or abusive spouse who might have even caused that does not allow you to go to the doctor, does not allow you to call 911, does not allow you to get on insurance because they don't want to pay for you, knowing fully well that you need it for your health. Abandons you in unfamiliar places. You guys are getting in an argument and they stop the car and tell you to get out of the car in the middle of nowhere, knowing you don't have anywhere to go, or that you don't have a car, or you don't even know don't have money to get there. So those are examples of some things that could be considered physical, even though somebody didn't physically touch you. And again, there's no exhaustive list. I'm just sort of giving you guys examples of some things that would be considered cruel, right? And then, you get into, and then of course there's the standard if the person physically hit you, pushed you or kicked you or threw household objects at you or used a weapon, or dangled the weapon, in front of you or threatened you that way. And then you enter into the territory of emotional stuff. Emotional stuff is a lot of mind games. So for those of you tuning in, what I had mentioned earlier was that please feel free to ask your question in the comment box. For the person on Instagram asking for my contact, my phone number is 407-995-6567. It's also on my profile. For those of you on Facebook, and YouTube, it's right there. It's streaming right there. My number is right in front of your face, so you can see it right there. And it's also right in the comment. And please just ask your questions. I always try to get to the questions once I finish explaining whatever my topic is, so that I can answer as many questions as I can. And for those of you also tuning in again, please comment in the comment box where you are tuning in from. What city are you in? What state? It's always curious to see. Sometimes people tune in from all different parts of the world, and it's always interesting to see the people that are watching. So definitely leave that in the comment box. So I was talking about basically standards and different types of abuse. Then you've got emotional abuse, right? And emotional is a lot of mind games, and things that make you think that you're not clear in the head, or that you're the problem, or something is wrong with you. You might have a spouse who, when they're outside around, a spouse or a parent or a child, whatever you classify on the. Wow, somebody is tuning in from the Bahamas. Thank you so much for logging in. Nice to have you here, Sylvia. So, like if the person is amazing, like an angel outside, and then when they're inside, they're a monster, like for those of you who've watched Jekyll and Hyde or Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. So those are emotional stuff where when it's hard to communicate that to the public, to say, no, you guys don't understand. This person is being abusive to me. But the thing is, because they're not seeing it, they don't understand what you're saying. So you then think you're the crazy one, or you start thinking that you're overreacting, right? So that's like a psychological and emotional, turmoil. That's an example of that. Thank you for tuning in from Louisiana, Ever Blessed on Instagram. And those of you tuning in from New Jersey, hi, Dimitri. Very, very informative videos. Thank you so much. So that's an example. Another example is threats, like they make certain threats that, they're going to leave you, or you can never find anybody better than them, or they intentionally try to make you feel jealous, and this would really apply more to marriage-based, like this particular thing about jealousy, where they know, like they try to act like, there are other people pursuing them, or they're in relationships with other people, things basically to emotionally torment you, or they control your appearance. They tell you what to wear, how you should cut your hair, what kind of wig you should wear or not wear, or, put makeup, don't put makeup, or tell you that you're a slut because you're wearing a skirt, as opposed to your skirt being, over your knee. So again, like these are some examples of things that are emotional. And then does a person insult your heritage? Like if you're an immigrant and you come from somewhere where maybe your English accent is very different from, say, American English accent, does a person make fun of your accent? Does the person make fun of your own native language or native slang, like the way you speak? So for instance, let me use Jamaica, for example, right? So, Jamaicans speak patois. So even though it's a form of broken English, but that might be how they communicate with their loved ones and the people that are from their home. Like, is a person making fun of the way you say that instead of speaking like a typical American and making you feel bad about your heritage, right? Or are they withholding affection from you as a way to punish you? So those are some things that would be considered as emotional. And then, you have sexual abuse or intimacy, as I call it. Sexual abuse is not just about rape and molestation. So that's the first thing. So the first thing you think of is, okay, the person raped me or whatever it is. And then there's a common misconception that there's no such thing as marital rape. And I'm here to correct you. There is such a thing as marital rape. If you do not want to, sleep with your spouse and your spouse forces themselves on you, that is rape, whether or not you're married or not. So are those types of things happening? Are your spouse asking you to do things that are morally repugnant to you and you don't want to do it, and they're threatening you that if you don't do it, they're going to divorce you, or they're going to kick you out of the house, or they're going to deport you, or call ICE or the cops and say you did something. So things like that. Is your spouse knowingly putting you at risk of an STD? Sleeping around, not using protection, getting people pregnant left, right, and center. So those are all things that will be considered sexual abuse. Are they forcing you to get pregnant or not get, or if you want to have a child, is your wife lying that she's not on birth control, meanwhile she has a hidden IUD? So these are all different examples of that. Again, as you're tuning in, ask your questions, because you're not going to get another chance this week. So definitely ask your questions. So let me move to financial abuse. So financial abuse are, there are a lot of immigrants who work under the table, to support themselves. Is your spouse threatening you? Is your spouse threatening you that they're going to report you to IRS? They're going to report you to immigration for working under the table, right? To support yourself. Or do you have a spouse that's like, you know what? Okay, I've married this non-citizen. Now I'm going to sit down, fold my hands, and chill while you do all the work and go work 50 hours a week, go work 60, 70, 80 hours a week and bring all the money in the house. I'm not contributing any money because, after all, I'm a U.S. citizen and I married you. So you bring all the money that we need. Bring the money for my hair, bring the money for my makeup, right? Bring the money for me to buy my Air Jordans, my Yeezys, or whatever. So those are all forms of financial abuse. Is your spouse intentionally trying to harm your credit rating? Like, taking your social security number, obviously for a lot of new immigrants, when your spouse files a petition for you, you might get a new, if you didn't have a social security number, you get a new social security number, and you may be more credit worthy, right, than your spouse. And what are they running up your credit? Like going to go get credit cards? Are they going to go get, things with your credit that you don't know about, and then you find out later when they're coming after you for collections? Those are all forms of financial abuse. Again, when I give you guys all this list, this is not an exhaustive list. These are just giving you some examples, because some people, it's hard for them to articulate what would be considered abuse. They just know that they're very unhappy and that what they're dealing with is not good. But a lot of times, it's difficult to express it as abuse, because for a lot of us, we don't believe we're being abused, or we don't believe that's abusive, or say, oh, but the person is a nice person, or okay, they do this other things that are nice, but yet they also do the same thing. So when I do these videos, I just want to give you some examples of things that are going to be considered abusive, at least in this country. And again, I know I talk about this a lot. Those of us from, foreign countries, there's certain things that is considered normal, that's really not normal, like, where if, let's say, your spouse, one of the spouses, is working, and the other person is like a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, and it's like, you should be the slave or whatever it is. Nobody's a slave, nobody's a servant, and that's not normal. So, I'm using that as an example to say, so it's always good to know, not use certain standards of what's normal. Or if you watched your parents, maybe your father, like, being physically abusive to your parent, and it's kind of normal, or in your culture, there's certain cultures, listen, this happens, and you go to the cops and they'll tell you, oh, go make it work out with your husband, or go fix things there, where they don't really do anything. That's not okay. It's extremely cruel for your spouse to be physically aggressive to you, even if it was just once, or twice, or 3 times, or he sent you roses or flowers right after. Another category is verbal abuse. Verbal abuse really speaks for itself. If your spouse is slut shaming you, fat shaming you, making fun of the way you look, telling you you're trash, obviously many expletives that I don't want to mention right now. All those things, those are verbal abuse, right? And then psychological abuse really goes down to really mind mesh you, like, if they're talking about your children, let's say you have children or you came into the marriage, with children, and they're telling you that you're not a good mom, or you're not a good dad, or if you guys have kids together, they're telling you they're going to take your child away from you, or they're going to make sure that if you leave, I'm going to make sure you never see this child again. That goes into a person's psychological state. You have grown men crying or grown women crying because their spouse is so abusive, but they can't leave because somehow their spouse has convinced them that they will take their child away from them. And so many of them, using myself as an example, when I speak to certain people, it's so messed up what their spouse has done that it's hard for them to even believe you, the attorney, that no, they cannot take your child away from you. That's not how it works. So that really goes down to the psychological effect of what, abuse can do, or cruelty, or what people say with their mouth, can do to a person. Is your spouse threatening to commit suicide if you leave them? Or are they threatening that they will kill you and themselves, if you leave them? Some people do that. That's a form of psychological abuse. So, and then, the last one is sort of legal abuse, where they take advantage of the legal system, or, sometimes, you have spouses that will say, I'll call the cops, I'll call 911 because I'm a certain race. They will believe me. We see that all the time. Or they'll say, because I'm a certain gender, they will believe me, and you'll get deported, or I'll call immigration. So those are all different things. So let me take some questions before I get into, see if I have enough time to get into what is considered credible evidence. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Abby, thanks for tuning in from Sweetwater, Texas. Melissa, good morning from New Jersey. Ebo, good morning from North Carolina. Favorite Carrie, good morning to the best immigration lawyer in the world. Thank you so much. What if the person that is in the wrong is the one that is trying to get the marriage green card? So Tabitha, if the person that's in the wrong is trying to get the one that's trying to get the marriage green card, most certainly you should still leave the relationship, right? Nobody's exonerating anybody. Like for me, I'm an immigration attorney. So the people that I represent are victims who need immigration assistance, victims who need immigration assistance. But that doesn't mean we condone immigrants who are abusing U.S. citizens, but guess what, Tabitha? For people who are U.S. citizens or green card holders that are being abusive, you've got the law on your side and you have recourses that you can take to help you. For a lot of immigrants who I represent, because I'm an immigration attorney, so I represent immigrant victims, they don't have a lot of recourse. A lot of people will sit in abuse for years. Why? Because the fear of calling the cops and getting deported or being sent back home, or not knowing how to eat, or not knowing how to live without their children, if their children stay and they get deported, is far greater than them sitting down there and dying in that abuse. Like they will rather stay in that abuse. So that's why, you have immigration attorneys like myself that help immigrant attorneys. But if you, as a non-immigrant, a U.S. citizen, is dealing with an abusive immigrant, please use the authorities the way the authorities are meant to be used. And hopefully you can get yourself out of that situation. And I'm sorry, that you're dealing with that situation. Dimitri says, love Vawa. Yeah, I do love Vawa because, it gives a lot of people a voice that don't have a voice. It's basically where you don't have to stay in abuse. You don't have to stay, the first step to freedom, is knowledge. And so I come on here and I educate you guys because so many people don't know what options they have available, because how would you? It's very complicated. Immigration is a very complicated process. Okay, so let's see what other questions I have. Let me see what I have from Instagram. Somebody's asking me about asylum. I don't handle asylum cases, sorry, so I can't really answer that. So this person, Abel, says, my kids and I have been in the United States. We came on a K1, K2, but it's been hell for us. We managed to get conditional green cards for 2 years, but my wife told me she will be withdrawing from the immigration process. My question is that, can I remove the condition or do I need the VAWA? So you can remove the condition, and you can still remove the condition under extreme cruelty and abuse. So, when I refer to VAWA, most of the times I'm referring to people who don't have a green card yet, but there is a mirror image process, right? For green card holders, conditional green card holders who are dealing with the same things. So please do not go through hell. If you're going through hell, call me and I will go over the process with you. The good thing about that, removing your conditions based on extreme cruelty, if you have a conditional green card, is you actually don't need to wait till the 2-year expiration. You can handle it much earlier whenever it's happening. So call me 407-995-6567. Okay, let's see. Okay, what if you don't have what USCIS asks for, an I-360 RFE? What will happen? You will get denied. So the question is, what are they asking for? And what are you answering? Because sometimes they're not necessarily asking for something to be submitted. It could be, what is your statement or your evidence and your affidavit? So it really depends. But if you're not able to answer it, you'll get denied. I think I just got frozen on Facebook. Can you guys see me on Facebook or hear me? Let's see. Okay. I think I'm back. All right, so Nathan from Facebook says, I've been with my girlfriend for almost 3 years now, and I'm an asylum applicant. She's scared to marry me because she's scared of losing the check she gets from DCF for her adopted son. Do you think she'll lose a check? So I don't really know what the process of whatever check she's doing, so I can't answer that question. She would have to see what the DCF requirement is for whatever check she's getting. That being said, if you guys love each other, who cares about a check? Marry each other, right? Let's see. Okay, Melissa, you guys can see and hear me. That's great. So Demetria says, a lot of immigrants don't know about VAWA and sit in abusive marriages for years. It's sad. Yes, it's so shocking to me, like how many people sit in 12 years, 14 years, 20 years, stay in abusive marriages or abusive parental relationships or abusive, child-parent relationships because they don't know they have an option, but there is an option. I don't know if you guys heard President Biden's address. I think it was last week. I don't remember what day last week. One of the exciting things is that President Biden was one of the authors of VAWA and one of a big proponent, and he did mention a reform for VAWA and protection for victims. So, I look forward to many immigration changes and enhancements to VAWA laws that protect victims. It's a wonderful, law that has been implemented and hopefully will continue to be, fine-tuned to help victims. So do you guys have any questions for me? I think I might have answered all the questions. If you guys don't have any more, I'm going to jump off. Let me see. Tabitha says, I'm doing everything. Yes, he's paying for everything, but I'm the one doing all the work. He gets upset when his stuff isn't priority. I have a son from a previous marriage, and when he's with me, my now husband treats me differently. So Tabitha, I'm assuming that you're you said he gaslights you. I'm assuming that you're a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. As I mentioned earlier, I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. So I would definitely recommend, you might just want to do what you need to do, do the needful. I don't represent U.S. citizens because I'm an immigration lawyer, so we help people to immigrate to the U.S. But, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. You might want to speak to a family attorney to see if, divorce might be something that you might consider. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful Wednesday. All right. Bye.